You're scrolling through TikTok and happen upon a video like this. You take a look at the comments and notice a trend of disdain for the video, and a single term seems most apparent: performative. There's been a trend in the past few months of pointing out people of this supposed nature, performative content and personality types. Individuals invested in the valence of a hobby or way of life, conceptualizing these hobbies and actions into an identity that does not exist past surface level. Is the critique against these people well-founded? Poorly repackaged cringe culture, or an anti-intellectualist dog whistle? Or maybe all of them? I think topics of this nature tend to exist on a very expansive spectrum, and I'd like to talk about the multiple sides of this in our modern cultural climate. I'm Saba Black Sheep, have you any soul? No sir, but today, we are going to delve into the world of performative people, and talk about the plethora of reasons why people come across this way. Performative artists. As an artist, this is one I might be a little more familiar with. What consistencies are there in who gets labeled as a performative artist? In videos that often spark this type of controversy, the notable consistency is the individual often takes a lot of videos of themselves doing the art or prepping to do the art, with little focus on the art itself, rather focusing on their identity as an artist. The art itself is often beginner to mediocre, most of the time. It tends to be clear the artist is a mere hobbyist or just enjoys the culture more than the process. Maybe having very long periods where they don't really work on anything, or are creating pretty much the same drawing over and over again. These type of content creators tend to catch a lot of discourse claiming they're innately performative, by extension, fake and just want attention. And I'm gonna be 100% honest. Videos like this oftentimes piss me off. I find them cringy and self-indulgent. That's how I feel at first glance, but I am not correct in this judgment. These videos are art within themselves, and it is often just people joining the hobby or culture and sharing their journey, which is vulnerable and can come across as cliche. It is a good thing that people want to start indulging in artistic expression, no matter how cringy, especially with how art is being threatened nowadays. It shouldn't be about making good art or how the art is framed, it's just about making something. It's not content I enjoy. Just because I find it cringe doesn't mean it lacks value. Just means something in the content feels antithetical to how I perceive my own identity. But I shouldn't put that on others. And you shouldn't either. I truly understand the judgment towards people like this because I feel the same emotion that spurs on the criticism. That feeling of cringe and this internal monologue of, does bro think he's in a movie or something? I get it. But guys, this is a flaw in our thinking, to those who feel the same. And it's okay that you feel that way. Just don't engage with the content. These people should feel their work, have fun. Our culture has turned us into apathetic, nonchalant bullies. And I get it, because I got the same goddamn urge. This is the skin of a monster, Bella. But it's just me calling a beginner artist cringe and corny. Art within itself is a performance, so why would so-called performative art be bad? Oh, they're trying to look cool and get attention. Okay, and? Low-key me too. Clearly you don't think it's cool. You don't have to tell everyone your negative thoughts constantly. Like, the online sphere needing their every thought voiced is just arrogant. Sorry to interrupt, but if you like my commentary, you might enjoy my webcomic Penelope's Peon. I posted on Tapas, link in the description. Or just join our 17+ Discord server to meet a bunch of cool artists and get your art in the next video. Without further ado, we continue. There are some aspects of performative people not understanding the depth or meaning of the medium or topic they're putting at the center point of their expression, and using those mediums and topics to make themselves more interesting, per se. But honestly, I find most beginners in a medium need to be a little performative to get attached and start their art journey. Humans are obsessed with our identities. So it's not that strange for people to display themselves in this manner. Reading a book in public, wearing a certain style of clothes, trying on different ways to perceive oneself. Honestly, I do think there's relative credence to this concept of the performative man. You know, the loser in a sweater vest at a coffee shop reading feminist literature. There are some that generally do go out of their way to present in this way just to get closer to women to get their trust. But a larger majority that present themselves like this, they're just individuals trying on a sense of self that exists past their previous world model. They haven't deconstructed it wholly, as most of the time these people are young adults. So yes, they can be foolish and arrogant as a byproduct of their age, not some grand manipulation tactic. I find that most forms of artistic and intellectual expression are getting this label of being cringe and performative. But to be frank, this just feels like another anti-intellectualist dog whistle to some degree. A cultural movement without much introspection or perspective, never deconstructing how you feel or why you feel, and relying on the first interpretation your brain shits out, often being an ill-formed judgment, only sets us back further. People will start a new hobby like getting into classical literature and talk about it, only to be labeled as some loser that wants to seem smart. It's just wholly idiotic, especially in this deprivation of attention spans. It almost comes across as jealousy. People commit to bettering themselves, to expand their attention spans and find value in their life outside of this consumer-react cycle. It's like people want to drag you down to be some brain-rotted troglodyte so they don't have to feel like they need to put in effort. But here's the thing. Everyone can better themselves. These preferably performative people are oftentimes just the ones putting in relative effort. Be it in art expressing a vulnerability or literature expanding one's perspective, it's egoistic to look down on these traits of the youth. Once again, I say this as someone that gets that it's cringe and finds it annoying to see or interact with these people sometimes. But that's because my baseline is an elitist douchebag, and a lot of people just won't admit that they're the same way and thus will never overcome this terrible personality flaw. I'm not better than anyone. You're not better than anyone. Everyone is on their own journey, and this constant need to remind strangers that somehow in your mind you're better is just indignant. Now, I won't pretend like all performativeness is good or immoral. People swinging heavily into the identities of mental disorders can make it harder for others to get respect or the help they need. But oftentimes, people grow out of this one. It's a label to an introspective means, attempting to understand one's behavioral patterns, disposition, and identity. Some don't come out of it and just use it as an excuse, the whole, well, I talk about myself constantly and never ask anything about you because I have autism and I want to talk about my special interest. Like, yeah, autism can do that to you. It certainly did that to me for years. But then I realized I couldn't maintain relationships because I was being rude. So I worked to change it and learn how to be more accommodating to the people I care about. Masking isn't always a bad thing. What are our identities but our filtered thoughts we choose to share and engage with? Being wholly unfiltered isn't a good thing. It's lazy and antisocial. I won't pretend like it's easy to make these corrections, it really isn't, but expecting the world around you to just be okay with the things that negatively affect them just because your brain processes information differently is a little crazy. There are some reasonable accommodations, but getting a pass to be selfish and rude to your loved ones is just a level of entitlement I can't get behind. Mind you, this sentiment applies to the line of topic I talked about, people wanting to get away with rude behavior. I'm not really saying anything else. I find these types of performativeness to be the legitimately harmful ones, the ones that use it to disengage with introspection and improvement. We are a social species. Our world and individual lives rely a great deal on our ability to connect with the people around us. We live in a reality that doesn't often bend to our whims, so we need to learn to pick our battles rather than endlessly complain about the state of the world or the social environment. As often, the only way to change is to connect to people and work together to take genuine action. There is a level of socialist performativeness I see online that I find a little tone deaf. Socially, I am very left-leaning. But I often see this Baltic state of leftists arguing over semantics. devilizing people who agree with them just because they don't agree on everything, becoming passive-aggressive and belligerent. I find it takes the attention off real actions. I do think we should think critically about those around us, while also realizing the level of disruption the disagreement really has. Example, I'm mostly pretty middle-of-the-road libertarian in terms of political leaning. My friend is a communist. We disagree on a fair amount of things, but neither of us are political leaders, and our ideologies are a byproduct of our personal lives and value system. The center point of my value system is volition and introspection, thus my political ideology will reflect that to some degree. Me and my friend have no immediate need to butt heads. Neither of us genuinely threaten each other. We come together and we agree on free Gaza, Trump is a dictator, trans rights are human rights, so on and so forth. You know, normal lefty circle jerk things, aka the bare minimum? Like not being like a actual cartoony villain. Us finding that common ground and standing together will make a louder voice than arguing about the economy for 5 hours because both of our ideologies have been rammed into the ground by millions that share the same. Nothing we could say to each other would really change the world around us in that means. Action comes first. I recently had to cut out a friend in my life as she would never stop making some level of moral and political judgment against me. I shared some art I was proud of, this piece, Sunrise Parabellum, a quote from Kim Kitsuragi, which translates to Sunrise, Prepare for War. The character himself is a centrist, but clearly recognizes the humanity in others and has an intrinsic need to protect and doesn't completely reject further left ideology. All that to say, he's written like a person. He is like how a lot of people are. A call of action from a centrist, as centrism isn't inaction, it's balance. Or it should be. Those who consider themselves centrist and never engage in social issues aren't centrist, they're just apolitical, at least in my opinion. Regardless, I shared this art piece on a shirt and I said, going to work in my homemade propaganda, I'm so excited. A joke considering the meaning of the message is a call to action, prepare for war, prepare to take action. This friend responded with, I thought Disco Elysium was a narrative, not political, making a jab at a previous video I had made about people misinterpreting and overvaluing political messaging in media, overshadowing the overarching commentary on the human condition. This friend is highly political and has made such a habit of making these jabs every chance she could get. Always some callback or rude comment to bring the conversation back to some political misdoing me or the others were guilty of in her mind. It got too much for me and our other friends, as every time we talked, it just became this weird passive-aggressive tone where I had to explain my ideology for like the 7th time. Me and the others brought it up to her many times, and she'd say sorry and then continue doing it over and over and over again. By some point, it felt more performative, this endless need to just jab and start arguments as if she needed to prove to herself that she was leftist enough. And since honestly, I couldn't think back to an interaction in the past year where she asked about me or we had a conversation that wasn't like about her life or arguing over like something dumb. It was just either her ranting or her starting political arguments. I don't think she's a bad person at all. But it's behavior like this that pushes people away. And I feel bad for individuals that just don't fully realize that their attachment to the valence of a way of being or ideology trumping their understanding of humanity, that it can be so draining to be close to them, always needing to rewrite the same 5-page essay why you aren't some evil person just because you don't share the exact same thoughts and way of processing the world. Fighting for human rights, standing with individuals that have been marginalized, is so important and something I think everyone should do. But it should be a baseline, not an identity to wield against your brothers and sisters. That all to say, this trend of performativeness and the many iterations we see in it is innately human. I think we have consumed so much content that we see genuineness as some marketing ploy. And sure, in some cases it is, but honestly, is that a bad thing? Be it real or fake, it sets a cultural precedence that it's okay to be genuine. It's okay to feel joy and express it, or make a mistake and grow. That's a culture we should strive for. So I don't have an issue if it's romanticized or used to push a product. Everything should be used to push a product. Okay, within reason. Anyways, that's all I have for today, folks. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comments. If you like my art, consider commissioning me. Or join the Patreon to get weekly exclusive Discord streams where I draw whatever you want. You got work tomorrow, or school, or ranting about performativeness. But as always, don't dream about wheat-based byproducts. Moi, je m'appelle Mademoiselle